Hey, good afternoon, committee members and other parties of interest. This is the Reconvened Evaluation Committee meeting for RFP 25-00293 Disaster Recovery Management Program. My name is Ethan Kersey, and I'm the senior buyer assigned to this project. This meeting is being held in part by means of communications media technology and has been publicly noticed. Active participation will be for committee members only. Provisions have been made for any member of the public desiring to have access to view the meeting. The recording will also be available after the meeting has ended. Please be advised that the cone of silence is still in effect. All meetings and correspondence must include me. Again, for the record, this meeting is being recorded and has been publicly noticed. At this time, I'll ask each committee member to reintroduce themselves for the record, beginning with the committee chairperson.
Thanks, Ethan. Robert Hendrickson, Management and Budget.
Irma Muka, Management and Budget.
Audrey Ziegler, Social Services.
Scott Stromer, Procurement.
Debbie Benavides, Enterprise Solutions and Quality Assurance. Sarah Wells, Human Services.
Cheryl Howell, Community Impact.
Lauren Storage, Water Resources.
Thank you all. On September 26, 2025, the evaluation committee met for the first time and requested oral presentations from all potentially acceptable proposers for RFP 25-00293. These presentations were completed on October 2nd and 3rd, 2025, and the recordings of such presentations will be made publicly available at a future date. The committee will now discuss the next steps in the process, and the committee chair will lead the discussion. So I'll briefly set the table here for you, Rob. Today's meeting, not necessarily to discuss the oral presentations, but more so to discuss the potential merits of a best and final offer. You'll hear us abbreviate that to BAFO throughout the meeting. I provided to the committee a rough draft of what that BAFO might look like if we decide to go that route. But I want, Rob, you to lay out the potential merits and why we're considering such an action.
Thank you, Ethan. Thank you, everyone who's joined us and the team, of course. For what you said, Ethan, one of the challenges with a complex program like this is making sure that all of our proposers are providing cost information on a level playing field with enough specificity to ensure that we're receiving costs for like items. In evaluating the submissions we received, one of the things I noticed is, as much as we try to really solidify the scope of our deliverables, there was even more room to do so in a way that would help us get more refined numbers. Additionally, what I'm going to ask the group to consider is simply by virtue of getting some fixed price responses and some variable time and materials responses will yield a difference, right? Because those things are materially different. And we all know with the time and materials proposed cost, that is very much, in some cases, a starting point and can increase substantially depending on the actual scope of the item. So what I've taken the time to do is to think through how we can better refine the scope of each of these so that we can help our proposers provide more refined costs, and in all cases have moved towards for purposes of this evaluation, a fixed price request in all instances. And then the third element I'll mention is, as many of the proposers noticed, we have what is essentially a 3-year term on the request for this information, but we also talked about durations like call center going past that. So rather than try to have everyone really look at the totality and use potentially different multipliers, you'll see what I recommended is we break that down in as much as possible into single prices. For example, a loaded monthly amount fixed for call center services. And I'll walk through this in a minute. So I guess the first item of business before recapping these and making sure the collective team is happy with what I've done is to ask my colleagues on the evaluation committee if they agree with the premise of going back to proposers with refined scope that will hopefully yield costs that are more apples to apples in each of those cases. So I'll throw it out to the group for their thoughts, or yay or nay.
Sure.
Agree as a group. Okay. The other thing I'll mention before I go through these is these don't necessarily represent what we'll actually do in some cases, and I'll explain those when I get there. But the point is to be consistent, right? So I make mention in here, for example, the number of change orders that will be processed. We don't know how many change orders we're going to get. but we want our proposers to give us what they would charge us for the same number. So when we get to certain things, you may see things that aren't really what we expect. I think that's okay, but if not, we can discuss it.
Let me just say this. This is Scott Strong. I'm not on the committee. I've introduced myself, but I'm just in attendance just to provide some guidance. Cheryl does have a hard stop, I think at 2:15, 2:20. If you need to, we'll speed this up as much as we can, Cheryl. But I just want to reiterate. So the scope isn't changing. The pricing elements really aren't changing. It's just giving there's just a little bit more information to glean from them. Give them some parameters of what that pricing would consist of. So the scope will essentially stay the same. That's all this is. So nothing's changing in the RFP. The scope is just on the pricing side, helping them just give some quantities so they can give us a more definite price so we can actually do that evaluation. Now, cost is it's one of the elements. It's not that. And I think what Rob is saying is, in the committee collectively, it's very difficult to complete that evaluation until we get that piece. So you want to have that available to you. We can get that as quickly as possible, try to get it back within a week so you can mull that over. But I just want to make sure that everybody understands that the scope isn't changing. We're not changing the RFP. So everybody proposed, nothing's changed. The responses aren't changing. We just want to refine their cost so we have a little bit better idea of what their unit costs are on that. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, as I go through this, I am not going to read every word. It will take too much time and we have some hard stops. This group can see it. And of course, when it's issued, all the proposers can see it too. I'll summarize, try to move quickly. Stop me though if I go too fast. Again, starting at the top. Deliverable one is the CDBGDR framework. Here, what we're looking for is a fixed price. I've stipulated it being a 60-page document with several steps in the process, including 2 reviews and an assumption of 6 meetings with county staff to get it across the finish line. Like I said, I'm going to move through this pretty quickly. The program management plan, this is a standard deliverable by which you explain how you manage all the program management elements. In this case, it's 30 pages, a similar review, development review process, and the assumption of 3 meetings to complete this. Program management execution, this is an important one. This is to provide a monthly fixed price. Obviously, this will be a multi-month full program deal. To perform the full suite of PMO functions, not only high-level monitoring. So this includes really all program management leadership type activities, the pieces in the program management plan, leading the portfolio of program activities, managing timelines, managing issues and risks, apprising stakeholders, attending key meetings. Again, paraphrasing, but in this case, we want to know what the monthly amount would be and we can extract that out to the full term. County and subrecipient training. Many of you have already proposed fixed prices, but again, a fixed price for 5 in-person 2-hour training sessions. A key piece here is to assume that all 5 will be provided within 1 week's time, which may or may affect some of the travel cost loadings you place into that estimate. County and subrecipient compliance monitoring. The assumption here is that these will be done quarterly, but what we're asking for is the price for 1 quarterly effort in this particular area to complete monitoring of all county and subrecipient activities. For sake of this proposal, assume there will be 5 subrecipients. This will include the development of a monitoring plan that covers the review of everything we're going to do, the activities to do so, the findings and the recommendations in a detailed report. DRGR. We are looking for really 1 amount here, but it's comprised of 2. And to explain that, what we mean here is a fixed price for setting up DRGR based on our action plan, which we know is a one-time effort, and then a separate fixed price for each quarterly report and the data collection and reporting that might require. Again, we realize that's a 4 time per year event, but we want to know the setup and then the fixed price for the quarterly. Audit assistance, a fixed price for 1 annual audit that will account for any HUD monitoring visit plus what our county auditor might require. So those are combined into a single activity with a lot of overlap. We move to task 3, the single family housing program. This would be a program blueprint. In our original scope, we said 10 to 20 pages. We refined that to say to provide a fixed price for a 20-page document. As before, a 6-step process to develop and review with 2 county reviews and assume 4 meetings with county staff to get this over the finish line. Related program policies and procedures. And again, this is repetitive. This is a little bit more involved. Assume this is a 40-page document. Again, a couple of reviews through development cycle, and that this will cover all intake and application processing steps, system and non-system, through the process. And it indicates the number of views of the county. Mine's cut off, but that will be provided. The case management system. In this case, we want a fixed monthly price that covers system configuration, licensing, and maintenance to support at least 2,500 applicants and at least 50 users annually. We understand that this will involve some one-time and recurring costs. So if you need to distribute one-time costs to arrive at a monthly cost, do so across 36 months, which equates to our 3-year term. On the call center, similarly, a fixed monthly price for call center services. Assume 2,000 calls per month and the development of detailed monthly call center reports covering call volume, duration, type, etc. This should also reflect any cost to obtain and train staff and any technology costs associated with the operation of the call center. Again, any one-time cost, please distribute over 36 months to get a fixed monthly price. 3E was the assistance around procuring a construction management implementation contractor. This is going to be removed because the county will have completed this before any of our implementation consultant partners join us. Our partner joins us. So there's no need to provide any information in that for that particular deliverable. Construction management assistance. Again, a fixed monthly price for monitoring and working with the construction management implementation contractor. Ignore any procurement aspects, as I mentioned before. This will involve much of what's described in the scope, reviewing schedules, monitoring adherence to milestones, all the monitoring and compliance activities. And assume for the following is not in scope: field inspections, architectural or engineering services, elevation certificates, and land surveys. We're now talking about task 4. These are all multifamily. And as I mentioned, these will likely be very different for us, but for the sake of keeping things on an equal playing field, the following applies. Provide a fixed, this is for the pre-development planning and design support, provide a fixed price to perform these activities, assuming 4 multifamily replacement projects at 10 million each and 4 multifamily repair projects at 1 million each, and a 3-year timeline for all these activities. 4B, the same in terms of the size and number of projects and the timeline. And 4C, the same, except we've added some granularity here. Assume 12 change orders and 150 draw requests over that 3-year timeline. Again, those are variables that we've now leveled out so everyone can be proposing on the same activities. Moving to task 5. This is the public services programs blueprint, similar to before, 20 pages, 6-step process, 3 meetings with the county. Planning scope, it's a fixed price to conduct, assume 3 workshops with the county to develop a resulting planning scope deliverable that covers our objective scope and requirements. Task 6 is to assist in the procurement of any planning studies, and please take special note that this is a fixed price to support 3 separate procurements using the outputs of the former deliverable, not one procurement for all of them at the same time. Task 7, this is our evaluation, justification, and selection of infrastructure projects. This is a fixed price for vetting 50 projects in collaboration with the county, as described in the deliverable description, and within 20 business days, start to finish. As I've mentioned in orals, the county's already documented the scope, benefits, LMI coverage, estimated cost, and address information for these. So that gives you a sense of the starting point. We're moving into task 8, which covers several environmental review trainings and reviews themselves. For 8A, a fixed price to conduct training. This is virtual, so there's no mention of time frame. 8B, a fixed price to conduct the tier 1 review and furnish a deliverable, including all required mapping and geospatial documentation, attachments and material, plus public agent and agency responses and an outline of mitigation measures. Do not include reevaluations in your price. 8C, a fixed price to conduct 1,000 tier 2 reviews, including site-specific checklists, field photos, inspection data, required standard consultations, coordination with county staff. Do not include on-site inspections or architectural engineering services. 8D, this is for phase 1 and 2 environmental for ESAs. Fixed price to conduct 40 phase 1 and 40 phase 2 ESAs. Phase 1 ESAs must abide by ASTME 1527 to support land acquisition of parcels up to 5 acres, and deliverables must include All required documentation, mapping, and analysis. With phase two, it should account for full sampling, analysis, and reporting scope for a single parcel with perimeters as follows. Up to 5 boring locations with depths up to 25 feet, up to 10 soil samples, up to 10 groundwater samples, and a laboratory analysis. Also assume shallow groundwater conditions. We're on to task 9, economic revitalization blueprint. Similar to before, in this case, a 20-page document, 6-step development review process. 4 meetings with the county to complete that effort. And then finally, our last task is transition assistance. This one, for the sake of somewhat clarifying, is to provide a fixed price to perform these activities. Assume the following: that they will take no more than 1 month to complete, and that you will have full and responsive participation by the county. I went very fast. Let me first make sure my evaluation team members are okay with what you've heard, and with us giving that to the proposers to help them come back with better numbers, not better, more refined numbers based on the same set of scopes for each of them.
So we go to page 3, Rob, and I think I did this before. But on page 3, when you look at the multifamily projects here, you got assuming 4 multifamily replacement projects and 4 multifamily repair projects. I would suggest that you change it to 8 and 8. 8 and 8. Change the $10 million to $25 million.
Okay.
And change that $1 million up to 15 million. And I believe that's going to be respective of what is in the already in the plan.
Okay. So just to restate that, Cheryl, so that make sure I understand.
Right.
But we'll be, for the replacement projects, we're now looking at not 4, but 8, and we're now looking at, make the assumption each is a $25 million effort. And for the multifamily repair projects, also increase that from 4 to 8, double it, and assume if we were to pick a single number for the cost for those, that would be a 15 million project.
That is correct.
Thank you. And that's going to be for 4A, 4B, and 4C.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. I had a feeling I was off on those, but that's good.
Just a question.
Yes.
Page 1 on the audit assistance, because this is an ongoing multi-year program.
Yep.
I'm assuming it could get picked maybe for a single audit by our external auditors, multiple years. So we would probably want more than 1 year.
So this would be,
For every year.
this, I'll tell you my thinking, but I want to help. My assumption here was that this would just be pricing for in 1 annual audit. Are you suggesting would be 2? Just help me. What should I ask for? What should I refine this to?
Well, I'm saying it could be audited every year for the entire period.
Oh, right.
Yep.
This would just be for one of those. The assumption would be it would be times 6 at least.
Okay.
Yes, so I just wanted to try to get.
So
the
we're gonna
unit.
have a multiplier of 6 on this.
Yeah, the multiplier is 6, just like
3 for initial term of 3 years.
I would say
12.
12.
Yeah.
I would say 12. I would say 12, right? Because if we're using other agencies' money, right? Like if we use state money, and we probably will, then they will want to come in and monitor as well. So then that'll be 2 different audits.
So in that case, so we're asking, in this case, we would ask for the cost of 1, knowing we could multiply it times 12, we could multiply it times 3. Do we think it's okay doing it on a unit basis and then multiply it on our end?
We could, because I would say, first of all, that the our auditor is gonna come in, our internal auditor, our external auditor, HUD is gonna come in at least 2, maybe 3 times during the run of this grant. And then any other external sources are gonna come in as well, because they're big dollars. Well,
Okay, so what we'll do for the quantity on that one is make it 6, 3 times potentially twice a year for the initial term.
But we still get a
That
unit
means-
cost for 1 activity, but the volume would be dependent on a higher number. It sounds like we need more of those.
Correct. And let me cover this really quickly while we're on that topic. I also provided you guys with a bid table. This would go out to the firms, directly laying out the deliverable and the task we're asking for, the unit of measure, and the quantity that would be multiplied by. For example, if it's a monthly cost, multiplying it by 36 to get the term first 3 years. Now, same for that annual thing. We can do twice annually for a total of 6 to start.
Discuss the self-recipient clients monitoring on page 3, you say provide a fixed quarterly price, but in our procedures, we're actually doing an annual self-recipient monitoring as well. So how would we want to handle that?
Could the fourth quarterly one be considered an annual audit?
Yes, I don't, yeah, and
Yeah. I mean, the thought would be at a minimum, it would be a quarterly activity. Maybe we can amend the language to say, and to assume that the fourth one will be considered an annual compliance audit. Okay, we'll change some language on that.
if you could kind
Yep.
of.
Annual. For now, we'll assume the same kind of requirements, but if it, later on, we can shift on any of these things.
I mean, assuming if we're doing it quarterly, we're gonna find anything anyway, and by the time we get to the year, then we should be pretty good. I'm just want to make sure, because we vote that in our processes and procedures.
Understood, thank you.
With respect to task 7.
Okay.
You think it may be warranted to up that proposed number of projects? Because I think we're well in the hundreds. I think Public Works alone has 50 plus.
I would be,
And I just think that there may be warranted like a specific individual assessment of each of those projects, because they're in different geographical areas. And
yes, I would be happy moving it to 100. My thought process initially to come up with 50 was that I knew we'd at least have 50 ready to
Yeah.
go.
yeah,
But I'm more than, that's a better number.
I think so.
So we'll do that. We'll
Yeah.
change that to 100 projects instead of 50. Thank you.
And so, is there sub-recipient management in here as well?
Not as a deliverable. It's in our scope,
Okay,
meaning the work that we do, but for a deliverable, just for pricing. So these deliverables are probably an eighth of the total work, but we just isolated these to get cost information. So yeah, it's in our scope for sure, because there's gonna be a lot of work there. But this was just meant to, what we didn't want to do is not give things that could be finitely costed. Because so much of what we do, like you said, is just ongoing. You just work on a lot of different pieces, so.
right, but when I say sub-recipient, I'm specifically referencing, the municipalities.
Yes, yeah.
I have a weird question, I'm sorry. So for the case management part, I can't remember which number it is.
Mhm.
Several of the applicants are using Neighborly. Is the expectation that Neighborly would charge the same for all of them? Or how,
So you're talking about task 3C, case management?
just,
I don't know how they'll price it. I was just wanting them to get a sense for how many applicants would be supported, and of course, you know how user licenses go, so I said 50. We also know that in some cases, there's a configuration cost, that's one time, but you've got to get your design done, your configuration, and then there's the using of it, and you could even pay more or less over time based on fluctuations in user numbers. And that's why I said,
I think
using it for 3 years, take whatever one-time costs are.
it's just gonna be confusing if there's a wide range with applicants that are using the exact same system.
If we get that back, yeah, I just don't know what to predict.
Right, I'm just
Yeah.
curious how we would look at that.
Yeah,
'Cause I think we have more questions than
right.
on that cabinet.
No, that's good.
So remember, the costs here were the ones that were able to be isolated for evaluation purposes. Ultimately, the contract, whoever you select, you'll negotiate an agreement with them, and you'll use this for the negotiation. This would really be the ceiling for the pricing. We may try to drive some of this cost down once you select someone, but this was just to try to identify, because these are not professional services, engineering, architectural, we can ask for costs. On those others, we can't. So we're just trying to, and obviously the federal government wants to see price competition, so that's why we're doing this. So,
Yeah, to try to get to apples.
right, as much as we can, right? And it is difficult. So I appreciate what you put into this, because you're having to look into the future of what you think and then try to be fair about it. And I think this gets us there. We thought we were there, but because of what you heard from the firms, you saw the proposals, you've got a better understanding now. So that now informs this.
There's no obligation or requirement for them, once, let's say whoever we pay, and then they're 50% different when we start to negotiate. There's no obligation for them to stay within a range of what was submitted here.
We can't go above that.
Oh,
So in some of these, we'll be able to ratio those out, right? We'll be able to unit price them out based on the calculation. So, and the vendors will be reminded that this is a requirements contract. You may not need some of these services. You may, this is for evaluation. This is our best guess for what we know right now.
Got it. Thank you.
And to piggyback what you're saying, Scott, the reality is, our attempt is, as we mentioned, that everyone's looking at the same sort of specs per se, because otherwise, really, I mentioned the number of meetings with us to get documents finalized. You know, some might be thinking it's weeks of meetings and others may think it's one. And the only way we can try to bring that together is get these specs more, you know, a little tighter. You could probably say there's still a little bit of variability, but I think we've really taken it from here and here, but go ahead.
Just an observation, for any of the training, we could have recordings, right? And then refer back to it later. I know we always said in person, or it's in person. I just want to make sure, could we also?
Yeah, we can negotiate that later, I think. I mean,
It would drive down the
Right.
cost, I think, during negotiations.
I mean,
Right, or to even have for later,
Yes.
because, okay. 'Cause
Yeah, in which
have
case we don't
turnover
have
On our side, and we like
Right.
somebody for training.
yeah, that's a good point. And we can make sure we do that one way or the other for sure.
Okay, I just want to make
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
So-
the in-person piece was really around, you know, so this is serious, a
Right,
serious
right,
business.
right.
And I feel like we need the human interaction in the room to learn some of these things as we tee up being compliant from the start and avoiding problems later.
Right, and I wasn't saying no to the in-person, I was just saying also could we record
Yeah.
that?
And we can replicate it.
So for the benefit of the vendors, it's also important to understand that this is a brand new program and it's got a lot of pieces. And so when the staff puts the scope of work together, it's based on what we believe. It makes perfect sense to us until it hits the light of day when it goes on the street. And so the proposals helped inform like, oh, didn't think about that. So that's why
Right.
BAFOs are very helpful in that sense. So I appreciate everybody's going through this with such.
Thank you. I think this is helpful.
Yeah, thank you guys for your feedback. I mean, you guys are spot on.
Any other quick comments? We'll get Cheryl out of here. Okay.
Cheryl said I'm patient.
Yes, you are. If,
I mean, your committee, we're good?
okay, perfect. If you are one of the firms, just be on the lookout. We'll be getting this over to you with all the information we covered today, a bid table, and it'll have explicit instructions on what we're looking for and how to resubmit that to us. That should hopefully be coming out early next week. So be on the lookout for that, but that will wrap up today's meeting for RFP 25-00293, disaster recovery management. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Good luck.
Thank you.